Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So we're still on chapter 3, but we're on part 11, Be Strategic with Your Life, on page 49. On page 49, Be Strategic with Your Life. So the author said, you must have a strategy with everything that you do in your life, especially in your studies. Now here, you must have a strategy with everything that you do in your life. Everything. And I mean everything. Your food, you should have a strategy with it. The friends and the companions that you keep around you, you should have strategy. You shouldn't just be making friends just because they make you laugh and stupid stuff like this. People that like to waste your time and talk, because you have entertaining friends or whatever. Like a lot of you see the ashab al-dunya, the people of the dunya, they make companions for these types of foolish reasons. And everything that we do, that we have a strategy. We eat certain foods because these foods give us the energy that we need to do certain things. So that's strategic. We go to bed at a certain time because we know that we got to get up at a certain time, so there's a strategy. When you're studying, you have to have a strategy. Everything in your life, it has to be strategic. You can't just allow anything to go to chance. Like just live your life and let's just see what happens. Because that's the path of the losers. The people who truly benefit from everything in their lives are the people that have everything mapped out, planned out, and everything is based on a strategy. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that you plan is going to work out the way that you planned it. The tawfiq, it's from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one that gives you the abilities to carry out the plans. But the point is that you at least have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy in the things that you do. And not just sitting here just doing things day to day, just hoping for the best. You hope for the best, but after you plan. And you make dua, and the tawfiq is from Allah. So he said after that, every day you should have some plan to get the things done that need to get done. Going into every day with a plan helps you to avoid wasting your time. I think we all know the experience of going to the supermarket without a grocery list. And we all do, because you end up coming out with the supermarket. You have certain things in your mind of things that you need to get, but they're in your mind. They're not written down. They're not planned out. You just know, like, okay, I need to get this and I need to get this. When you actually go home and you see the types of things that you bought, you realize that you bought 10% of what you bought is the things that were in your mind, and the other 90%, or let's say 75%, 25% are the things that were in your mind, and the other 75% is just a bunch of junk that you bought that you really shouldn't be eating in the first place. So even going to grocery shopping, it has to be strategic, because that goes back to the foods you eat, the drinks that you drink, and everything. You end up buying all junk food. The same thing when it comes to your day. You end up just using your time on things that bring you no benefit in this life or the next, which is basically junk. You waste your time on junk because you're not prepared. You don't have a strategy for your life. The best way that I've found to deal with this is to have a daily checklist. Yeah, because I've seen a lot of people do a lot of these other elaborate plans, and I've never seen that any of that type of stuff works. All right, so the easiest thing to do is just have a checklist of things that you have to do every day and get those things done. I write all the things I need to get done in the order of how I would generally do them. I have things that I do in the early morning, and not just I don't put them just in order of how I generally do them, but there's more to that than I wrote here, and that is that I generally do the most important things first. So obviously the most important thing is the Quran. If you don't get that done first, that should be the very, very first priority. And if you don't get anything on your checklist done all day long except for that, then at least you've achieved something and you've gotten a lot of ajr for that day. But other than that, Allahu musta'an. That's the first priority is always Quran. The second priority is hadith, and then whatever else. Then I put things in order, the way that they go, and based on the priority. So it's not that I just put them in order in the way that I do them, but I do them based on the priority. So I know that in the early morning, the early part of the day, that's the easiest time to get the most important things done. So if stuff comes up in the later part of the day, and you don't get those later things done, alhamdulillah, it happens, it's going to happen. But at least you get those important things done first. All right, so after that I said, and I have in order of how I would generally do them, I have things that I do in the early morning and things I have to do before I go to bed. As you finish these actions, you check them off your list. If you are constantly missing certain actions and not checking them off, you either lack self-discipline or you are overburdening yourself. And this goes back to like you going back and assessing your time usage. All right, why did you not get those things done? Did you not get them done because you were busy at work, because you're busy with things that are important, but not things that are important that don't deal with like seeking knowledge, but things that are important. You're busy with family, you're busy with work, or you're busy with things outside, or busy with people. So that's one thing. Or were you busy just what? Wasting your time on the internet, watching YouTube, watching whatever different things. This is the case. Then the problem is not you overburdening yourself. The problem here is lack of discipline. And people will find that they have discipline in certain times and they lack discipline in others. Obviously, the strongest of all individuals, the mu'min al-qawi, is the person that's able to discipline himself all throughout the day. Now, obviously, you have to take breaks. You have to take breaks and relax. But some people, they can get up and do the things in the morning, but they find a lot of difficulty doing things later on in the day. And some people, they can do the things later on in the day, but they have difficulty doing them early in the morning. So whatever you are, you have to find out what you are and the type of person you are, and put those priorities at the times that you know that you're going to have the most energy and the most willingness to do those things. And then put the smaller actions or the other things that are of less importance at the time that you know that you have less discipline, and start working on your discipline. But this way, at least you get the most important actions done. All right. The best way I found, to have a daily checklist, I did this. As you finish these actions, you check them off your list. If you are constantly missing certain actions and not checking them off, you either lack self-discipline or you are overburdening yourself. If you are overburdening yourself, you might have to delete some items from the checklist. If you lack self-discipline, you need to come to an understanding in your mind of what is more important to you. Do you want to benefit from your time or waste it? You should start your checklist off with the bare minimum of what you know that you can get done every day. One of the most recent checklists of mine looks something like this. So this is the morning, and this is just like one day, obviously. This is not every single day. This is just one day. So as you see from Surah Al-Rum to Surah Al-Yasin, so you see that the part of the daily checklist was to read 2 juz every day. It's not that I sit there and read Surah Al-Rum and Surah Al-Yasin every day, but it was just that was one of the days. All right, so it's 2 juz every single day. Sahih Bukhari, at least 6 pages. Mutammima, because at that time I was revising Nahu, and this is when I was writing this book, because I was teaching a class in Al-Ajramiyah, which I still haven't finished yet. Allahumma musta'an, but inshallah, once I get the stuff that I need to get from Jacksonville, because I don't even have the books that I need right now, so Allahumma musta'an, those books are still in Jacksonville. So inshallah, I will continue that lesson, inshallah. So the Mutammimat al-Ajramiyah, I would read 2 parts, which is the equivalent of 20 minutes every day. And the khutbahs for memorization, because what I would do, and what I always do, is I write the khutbahs out beforehand. Things of topics that I know that I'm going to have to give a khutbah about sooner or later, so I write it out. I don't write that whole khutbah out, but what I write out is the ayat and the hadith that I'm going to use for that khutbah, so that way I can start memorizing it in the order that I'm going to use it in the khutbah. Because obviously a lot of this stuff I've memorized it, but I haven't memorized it in that order. All right. So those are like the khutbahs, and the lesson that I was taking at that time was in Qatar, because again, like I said, I was revising An-Nahu. All right. The nighttime, so this is the daytime. So this can go all the way from Fajr all the way up until Asr. All right. Even though, and after Asr, I will start considering that more towards the nighttime. No. So Quran revision, and I didn't mention the reading. I didn't put, there's a lot of things that I don't put on the checklist. The reading, because I do this on Goodreads. So I keep up with the amount that I'm reading on a daily basis through Goodreads. So I don't put this on the checklist. All right, so, but there's also reading, but that's not here. So I have one book that I read in the morning, one book that I read in the evening. And even so, and then there's another book that I would just read, like an English book I would just read whenever. Whenever I just felt like reading it. All right. So night, Quran revision, I would read one part of the Quran every night as revision. Riyadh al-Salihin, really it was the Mukhtasar of Riyadh al-Salihin. And this was before the pub. And actually, no, this was after. I actually wrote this before I published Daily Hadith. So because I was already writing this book first, and then Daily Hadith, I was compiling them little by little by little, but I ended up publishing Daily Hadith first and publishing this book second. But so this was actually written before Daily Hadith, because I was going through Bukhari, and I was going through the Mukhtasar of Riyadh al-Salihin, and that's what I was memorizing at the time, because for the khutbahs. And because it was an easy Mukhtasar, so I was like, okay, and but then when I published Daily Hadith, I was publishing because I was taking out the Hadith from Riyadh al-Salihin, from from the Sahih Musnad, from Sheikh Muqbil, from Bukhari, from other books of Hadith, you know. But it was really heavy in of Riyadh al-Salihin because I wanted to, a lot of the Hadith, the narrations in Riyadh al-Salihin, when you try to memorize them, what Imam Nawawi did, I understand what he did and why he did it, but when you go to memorize it, it's a little bit tedious. Where like he'll give a hadith and then he'll give 5 different narrations of that hadith. And he'll say, وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ كَذَا وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ كَذَا وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ كَذَا. And some of the hadiths he'll actually give like 4 or 5 different narrations of the same hadith. And that's a little bit tedious. So I wanted to like compile a book, of a hadith that I'm going to be using for khutbahs, for lessons, for all these types of things. So I could just put it into one book and khalas. Just, memorize it as it is, my own book, teach it, memorize it, and then khalas. And then that way I have all those ahadith in one place that I need for all the khutbahs, for all the lessons, and then I can add on to it. Like this right here is not what's in my notebook. So what I have is I have the daily hadith, which is 365 hadiths, and I also have a compilation of more hadiths that's I call it the mulhaqat, or the mulhaq, the daily hadith, which is actually going to make it 500 hadiths, which I might come out with later, inshallah. But most of those ahadith that are in the 500 are taken out of the Sahih Musnad from Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah. So that's a whole other thing. But I mean, for me, I actually wrote out, because what I wanted to do, originally my plan, was to take out 500 of the most important hadith for these types of things, for for the heart, for manners, for the fada'il, and these types of things, like the 500 hadiths, and put that into a book, which is, like I said, inshallah, I'll come out with that later, And then I'm going to take 500 hadith from fiqh, from Al-Muntaqa, which is, this is the book written by the grandfather, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. So I'm going to take 500 of the most important hadith from that, inshallah, and put that into a book. So you have 500 here, 500 here. So how many is that?
500, 500?
Yeah.
1,000.
That's 1,000. So that was the whole point. So the person, while he's memorizing the Quran, he could take these short, and most of these ahadith are going to be short and easy to memorize. So it's not going to affect his memorization of the Quran. So that by the time that he gets done memorizing the Quran, if he's just memorizing a hadith here, hadith here, hadith here, so let's say he takes 4 years to really to get the Quran down perfectly. Over those 4 years, he can memorize hadith little by little, and bam, he's got 1,000 hadiths with the Quran. So now he's really ready to start, seeking knowledge. But inshallah, that's something, like I said, the tawfiq from Allah, so I'm still working on finishing up the 500 for this. And then after that, inshallah, then I'll go through
My skin, that's why. I have a weak skin, facing the sun, that's why.
So then next, inshallah, I'll start reading through Al-Muntaqa. Because like right now, I'm busy just reading Bulugh al-Maram over and over again to revise those ahadith, because I got real weak in it. So and then after that, inshallah, I'll start reading Al-Muntaqa, inshallah, then start taking those ahadith out, inshallah, one by one. Because what I'll probably do is end up taking about like 600, 750, something like that. And then I just have to push it down and compress it till I get to 500. So that's the night. So you got Quran revision one part, Riyadh al-Salihin part 1. And part 1, generally what I mean is like, it depends. I break those books up, like the books of hadith, I break them up differently. Sometimes I might break them up into 10-minute parts, sometimes 15-minute parts, sometimes 12.5-minute parts. It depends. What I always do with every single book, if I get Riyadh al-Salihin, Mukhtasar Riyadh al-Salihin, Bulugh al-Maram, Al-Mukhtar, or any of the books that I've ever had any type of ihtimam or focus on in the past, I always get it and I read it first, and I see how long it takes me to read it. So generally, the first time that I read it through, I'll break it up into 10-minute parts, so then I can see for exactly how many 10-minute parts it takes to finish it, and then, all right, this is how long it's going to take to read. So like, for example, like Bulugh al-Maram, I have 2 types. You got the Tahdhib of Bulugh al-Maram, and then you got the actual Bulugh al-Maram. The Tahdhib of Bulugh al-Maram, it takes out all the extra takhrij, of Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar. So he'll just say, Rawahu Abu Dawud, Rawahu Tirmidhi. But he won't add all the other stuff like, Hasanahu Bayhaqi wa Da'afu Daraqutni. So he'll take out all that extra stuff. So if you read it, it takes about 360 minutes to read it straight through. So that's like if you read Um, so if you read in 12-minute parts, you read 3 parts a day, 36 minutes a day, you can finish the Tahdhib of Bulugh al-Maram every 10 days. If you're doing the actual Bulugh al-Maram, which I just finished it again, and I timed it this time with 12-minute parts, the actual Bulugh al-Maram. So I did 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes. It was 30 parts of 12 minutes, and then one part was 18 minutes, the last part, which was the Kitab al-Jami'. So that was like, not the whole Kitab al-Jami' was 18 parts, but whatever was left over after 360 minutes was 18 minutes. So now I got to redo it again and read it in 13-minute parts. So it's going to be like 13 minutes, 13 minutes, 13 minutes. It's going to be 30 parts of 13 minutes, so it's going to be 390 minutes, right? That's right. Yeah, 390.
Yeah.
Huh?
You said 12 times 30?
12, no, 30 times 13. It's 390. So, all right, so it's going to be 13-minute parts, so that means 3 parts a day will be 39 minutes, and you finish Bulugh al-Maram every 10 days. Or I might just go back to the Tahdhib of Bulugh al-Maram and just finish it in 36 minutes a day. But whatever, you time it, and you see how long it takes you to read that book, and then you break it up into parts. All right, khutbahs for memorization, 1 through 5. So there's khutbahs for memorization that I read. Like, I got 30. Like, right now, I have a notebook with, this is not the same notebook here. It's a different notebook. I rewrote all of them. So, like, right now, I have, like, 32 in a notebook. So what I do is I read 5 every day for 5 days. That's 25. And then I got 5 that I read. Well, I'm supposed to read. I haven't started yet. I'm just finished writing all these khutbahs. So 5 that, inshallah, I'll be reading every day. So these 5 I'll read every day until I give all these 5 khutbahs. Then once I give those 5, then I'll start reading those with every 5 days, and I'll take another 5 and read them every day as I'm giving them, inshallah. So it helps with the memorization. The lesson at night at that time was al-Qawa'id al-Mufla. And of course, the memorization is not at night. But what I do with the memorization, because the memorization is all throughout the day. So I write whatever it is that, like if I'm memorizing a hadith, what the hadith is and how many times I read it that day. So I have a counter, and every time I recite it, I click it. And at the end of the day, I'll just write down, okay, I read it however many times, 40 times, 50 times, 100 times, however many times I read it that day. All right, so for the part on memorization, I write what page I was memorizing from what book and how many times that I read the page. I have a hand counter that I use to keep. I forgot I even wrote this here, so there you go. I have a hand counter that I use to keep count of the number of times that I read a page. Sometimes I am memorizing a khutbah because I am on the schedule to give the khutbah that week. Obviously, this was when I was in Jacksonville, because here I'm on schedule to give it every week, so I'm always memorizing a khutbah. So, all right, so I will do the same. I will read the ayahs and the hadiths and the hadiths that I'm going to use for the khutbah numerous times and write how many times I read the khutbah on my checklist. You can also tell from the recent checklist that I have been focused on the revision of Nahu. That goes back to the focus on one thing at a time. I'm taking another class in al-Qawa'id al-Mufla also for revision. The goal is to get all those items checked off the list every day. If I fail to do that, there has to be a valid excuse. And failing to do it one time is not an issue. But failing to do it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 days that month, that's an issue. And that's the whole purpose of having that checklist, so you can go back. So like right now, on the Kuffar calendar, we're going into July, right? And are we entered in Muharram yet or no? Check the Islamic calendar. How many days? I mean, we're like right there. We're very close if we haven't. So you could do it, here we're about to go into Muharram also. So, which is the beginning of the Islamic year. So it's like the actual start of the year, which means you have 8 full months to get ready for Ramadan.
Still the Hijjah.
But what day?
The 23rd.
23rd, okay. So we still got a week about until we get into Muharram. So, you really want to plan it like that, because if you look at it in a week, inshallah, we go into Muharram, we got 8 full months until we get into Ramadan. So that means 8 full months that you can get whatever it is that you got to get done now and get it done. Whatever revision of the Quran, whatever hadiths you want to memorize, you got those 8 full months, because that month of Ramadan, obviously that's when you stop and you just focus on reading the Quran and taking some time just to revise the stuff that you memorized throughout these months, just so you don't forget it, but you don't do anything extra. The Quran is the main focus. All right. So then I said, you can also tell from the recent, all right, I read that. The goal is to get all those items checked off the list every day. If I fail to do that, there has to be a valid excuse. I also place the most important items on the list at the very top. These items I get to work on early, so if something comes up throughout the day, I at least know I got those actions done. The earlier you start knocking these items off the list, the better. You should aim to get up every day at 4 a.m. You get up, drink some water to get hydrated. I mean, obviously right now, because of the time for Fajr. This is in Jacksonville. And Fresno, I got to get up at 3:20. But, it's like, but yeah, in Jacksonville, I could comfortably get up at 4 o'clock, read, and get started before Fajr. But not here, So here, Fajr's too early. So you get up, drink some water to get hydrated, go to the bathroom and get to work. When most of the common folks are waking up around 7 a.m. to get ready for work, you already knocked out half your list for the day. Getting started early is very important because the early part of the morning has the most blessing. This came in the following hadith, and Sakhr ibn Wada'a al-Ghamadi al-Sahabi radiyallahu anhu, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال اللهم بارك لأمتي في بكورها وكان إذا بعث سرية أو جيش بعثهم من أول النهار وكان الصخر تاجرا فكان يبعث تجارته أول النهار فأثري وكثر ماله. So Sakhr, he reported this hadith that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that that he made dua and he said, "Oh Allah, bless my people, bless this ummah, and the things and the actions that they do in the early part of the day, the earliest part of the day, and this is the time of Fajr, all right." And then he said that whenever the Prophet ﷺ used to send out, an army unit or detachment or dispatchment or whatever, he would always send them out in the early part of the day. And Sakhr was a tajir. He was a businessman. He used to a trader. So he used to always send out his whatever he was trying to trade and sell that day. He would send it out early in the morning. And he got rich. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in his money, and he made a large fortune from what he did, by following the advice of the Prophet ﷺ and the things that, and doing those things early. So it's not just for the deen, but it's also for what? The dunya. And we see this amongst the kuffar. Those kuffar that get up 4 o'clock in the morning and they get started on their goals and they start doing the things that they want to do, they're successful. Allah gives them success in the dunya. Allah will give them success in the dunya. You see this, people that get up and start exercising early in the morning, people, you see like a lot of these real successful people, they all have a habit of what? Getting up really early before everybody wakes up and getting started on their goals. Because they know once all the people wake up, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, because most of these people are waking up, the sun's already up, shaitan's urinated in their ears, and they're waking up lazy, and, they got to get coffee, they got to get all this stuff just to get going. These people are going to be the people that are going to distract you and waste your time. So you want to get as much done before these devils wake up. SubhanAllah, because they're going to wake up lazy and just absent-minded about everything and complete ghafla because they just slept the whole night through with no concern. Nothing woke them up. Nothing, not even Fajr woke them up. And unfortunately, this is the state of the vast majority of Muslims today. The vast majority of Muslims, every single day of their lives, wake up staring at the sun in the blind. So, Allahumma staan. All right, so he said when you prepare the checklist is up to you. And what I'm talking about is like people like to prepare it day to day. Some people like to prepare it week to week. Maybe you might want to prepare it, sit down one day out of the month and just prepare it for the whole entire month. Whatever, that's your business. Some people might want to write it out. Some people might want to do it on a computer. That's up to you. Obviously the computer and printing it out would be easier because you don't have to write it. All you got to do is what? You prepare, like this is the checklist, this is a 5-day checklist, and all you got to do is what? Change the dates. That's it. Change the dates. But you can have the checklist ready, And as far as the rotation, you can have a 5-day, 6-day, 3-day, 2-day. That's up to you, whatever you're doing. If you're just getting started memorizing the Quran, 2-day, a 1-day checklist is enough because all you need to start, if you're just memorizing like Juz Amma, so your goal is to read Juz Amma every day. Every day. Now once you get like where you memorize Juz Amma, or like you're getting close to finishing Juz Amma, then you add another day. So one day you read Juz Tabarak, and one day you read Juz Amma, and you keep do this 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, 2 days. And you keep working like this, and then you keep adding things. And as you add things, now obviously once you start getting more and more and more and more, then it's going to go to 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. I don't go beyond 6 days. Unless it's like a book of hadith. Like the books of hadith might go to 10 days. And if I'm reading the Quran from the beginning to the end, it'll be 10 days. But other than that, I like 6 days that's it. That's the cutoff. When you prepare the checklist, is up to you. Some people like to prepare it daily the night before so it can be fresh in their minds. Others like to prepare the list in bunches. I prepare mine in 5-day bunches, sometimes 5 days, some days 10 days. It depends on how much coffee I drink that day. That is because I have a 5-day rotation with my memorization and revision schedule, so I just prepare those 5 days in advance. Whatever works for you, do it. The most important thing is that you go into each day with a strategy of how you're going to live that day by the permission of Allah. This is how you live your life deliberately and with purpose. Each day you have goals and that have to be achieved. By doing this single act of planning out your day for benefit, you have separated yourself from the vast majority of the world that chooses to live their days on whims. Allah musta'an. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Just by planning, even if you don't even do the plan, just the act of planning it itself, just thinking of the things that you need to do on a daily basis, you've already separated yourself from the rest of the world. Now, what about if you actually did those things and you carry those things out? And the easiest thing to do is just start off with few things. 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, whatever. And then, because obviously you're going to keep building and building and building and building, until eventually it's going to be like, 11, 12 things a day that you have to do. But you shouldn't have like 20 items on a checklist of books you need to read, things that you have to. That's too much. That's too much. You need to revise your schedule at that point. وإلى هنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.